What's going on, guys? This is Eric Wilson from the Invested in Hockey podcast. I'm joined by Anthony Santini, and today is October 1st. No better day to do a podcast than the first of the month. I'm really excited to be back. It feels like it's been months without hockey, months without a podcast. Let's hear from you first. What's going on, Sants?
What's up, buddy? Ready for the hockey season to start? We just had our big keeper draft last week too. Obviously wasn't able to get it done last year after trying to defend my Stanley Cup. Obviously, there was a big hangover happening with my team, but I feel like I was pretty happy with how my draft went. Starting to see some players getting signed out of training camp, starting to see that buzz out of training camp, which is so sweet to hear because it's felt like at least 5 or 6 months since last puck drop when the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. So I'm super fired up for the season to start.
I know. I can agree with you. It does feel like 5, 6 months. I don't even know what the weather was like the last time a puck was dropped. I feel like it was cold, but it wasn't. It wasn't quite summer yet. So we both had big summers. We both were traveling a little. We did our last podcast on our way to Chicago. I don't know if you remember that, but
Mhm.
when we did that, it was free agency. So the last time we kind of did a pod, it was free agency. There was some big things. No real massive signings that I recall. I know there was a lot of buzz around kind of these RFAs like Rossi, McTavish, Luke Hughes. So we're going to get into that because at this point in time, a lot of these guys just recently signed. And the big news coming out of Minnesota is obviously Kirill Kaprizov signing for $17 million starting in 2026. So I have a strong opinion about that, and I hope you do too. But yeah, we're back for the hockey season, and Wednesday's our magic day. I mean, October 1st, first of the month is just a great day to do a pod. So we're going to get into that. And let's just start off right away with the Kirill Kaprizov contract. Give us your honest thoughts. Leave it all out here.
Yeah, I think that Kaprizov obviously signing for the richest contract in NHL history, the biggest news to come out of the summer. Like you mentioned, no real other big signings or big trades that we saw really that kind of shook the NHL. The only one that we mentioned a couple years ago, really as a big trade, was that Huberdeau trade, and we haven't really seen anything big like that in a while. But sticking back to Kaprizov, obviously the richest contract in NHL history, and I do think that this is almost a benchmark now for some of the star players in the NHL to look at when they hit free agency, that they could call their agent, call the team and say, look, this is what we're looking to get. And it's very simple to say, look, if Kaprizov got this, I deserve that. And I feel like with McDavid that we're going to get into, he could turn now and say, look, if Kaprizov is getting this, I should at minimum get $17 million. So I do think, though, that this contract is a massive overpay for Kirill Kaprizov. Do I hate it for him? No, I'm very happy to see him take the money. I'd say that all the players in the NHL are going to be super ecstatic that he's getting a huge payday. And I would say his teammates are as well. The only people that should be crummy about it and not really happy is the owners, because they know now that in the next 5 years, with the cap going up, all their stars are going to be asking for massive paydays. And I do think that Kirill Kaprizov has started that trend. And for the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of big name players starting to make upwards of 14, 15, 16, 17. And who knows, maybe even a player might crack $20 million. But I know that Cale Makar is up soon for contract. Jack Eichel is up soon for contract. Kyle Connor is up soon for contract. Like, he's maybe a guy now that looks at Kirill Kaprizov and say, heck, I deserve $13 million, $12 million. I mean, it's just ridiculous that Mikko Rantanen was not even offered $12 million by the Colorado Avalanche. Meanwhile, Kirill Kaprizov is making $5 million more than him per year. And what, over $40 million over the course of 8 years? It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I mean, it's also ridiculous that there was pushback from Colorado fans who disagreed with Rantanen getting that much money. And I think there was a lot of people who were like kind of happy to see him go and happy to see Nate just kind of take his spot. But when you really look at it, the Colorado Avalanche have to sign Marty Necas now. And guess what? He's going to want a lot of money too. And they're kind of going to have to pay him because without Necas or Rantanen, you'd have a big hole in your lineup. I'm
No.
honestly going into the Avs a little bit. I'm a little worried about them because at the end of the day, McKinnon and Rantanen was a duo that got the job done multiple times, and in the last 4 years, they haven't really done much. That team haven't been able to escape the first round. And I just don't know if Natchez is going to have that same chemistry with McKinnon that a guy like Rantanen did, especially being a right shot with another right shot. I just don't know if it's going to work. And I think you brought up great points about Kirill the Thrill. Now, I had a big kind of argument slash controversy on my TikTok page with Mike Bartner, where I stitched his video and I spoke about how Kirill Kaprizov did not deserve 16 million. That
Hmm.
was when he rejected 16, or his team rejected 16. And the reason I was so strong about that opinion was because he was making the argument that Kaprizov was just so valuable to his team and it was like non-comparable to other players.
Mhm.
The one guy I brought up who I think you can vouch for this and say his value to his teams kind of is just as much as Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel's due for a contract next year as well. And, you know, if you forget this whole Marner thing, like who has Jack Eichel really had around him in terms of star players? If you're going to say that Kirill Kaprizov hasn't had star players around him as well, right?
Yeah, I do think that the context, like you mentioned, that needs to be provided when you talk about Kirill Kaprizov. Like, it's almost like trying to talk to the average NHL fan. Like, a family friend comes up to you and says, "Oh, I heard that there was this massive signing in the NHL." Like, isn't that ridiculous? Like, Kirill Kaprizov makes $17 million, but then you have Austin Matthews that makes 13. It's almost like the average fan or someone that just doesn't really follow the game too much saying like, "Hey, how is this possible?" And you need to provide the context. You need to say, "Well, Kirill Kaprizov plays in a market that isn't really sought after. Not a lot of people want to go play in Minnesota, I'd imagine, and they don't really have the talent around them where they're building some sort of super team. Like it's not like in Colorado what they had with Rantanen, Makar, and McKinnon. It's not like in Toronto when they had Matthews, the core four, Matthews, Nyes, Tavares, Marner. Like there's not that much talent in Minnesota right now. And for him, like you mentioned, he wants to get paid. I think that it's the right thing to get paid. He wants to push the envelope. I feel like that's the thing that players in the NHL want him to do. And like I said before, I think the only people that are not going to be happy about this deal are the other general managers in the league and the owners.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to bring up another point to kind of bank off your you mentioned the kind of casual fan. And I think that's where some of the frustration comes in because no hockey fan is going to tell you that Kirill Kaprizov is equal to McDavid or he's close to being the best player in the world because he's not. But a lot of people are going to make that argument that guess what? He was the Hart favorite before getting injured last year and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, he's never played 82 games and he has played I want to say like 16 playoff games and he's really going to have to get the job done if he wants this contract to look relatively good. He's going to have to do something whether
The
that's
one
on Minnesota or on a different team. But with that being said, I think that's a good kind of chance to change the topic to today's big signing, defenseman on the New Jersey Devils. I'll let you get into that a little bit.
Yeah, so the New Jersey Devils lock up young defenseman Luke Hughes for 7 years with a 9 million AAV, which makes him the highest paid of his two brothers. Sorry, the youngest making the most money. And just like the Kaprizov signing, you need to add context to that. Obviously, Quinn Hughes up for contract soon. Jack Hughes, who signed a long-term deal when, I guess you could almost call it a buy low situation for the New Jersey Devils. Like Jack Hughes is going to be making incredible. He's going to be a bargain 2-3 years down the road. I believe he's only making 7.5 or $8 million AAV. But for the New Jersey Devils, it seems that they like what they're seeing in Luke Hughes. And obviously, with him coming off a great year last year, he did have that injury, I believe, to start the season, missed the first month, and also missed, was it near Christmas break, I believe, with a shoulder injury. I could be wrong on that, but I do know that he was hurt to start the year. But it looks like he will overstep Dougie Hamilton for power play one, and I feel like that's what they're banking on. That's what they're going to build, and that's going to be the cornerstone of what the New Jersey Devils are. Having Luke Hughes at the top, having Jack Hughes on the power play, having Jesper Bratt, having Nico Hischier. These are some of the guys that they've tried to lock up now, and Luke Hughes looks to be their number one defenseman.
Yeah, it's I wanted to name today's title a new era in hockey, and I said that for a reason because at some point these veteran guys, call them 30 plus in age, are going to have to call it quits and call it kind of just their ice time is going to go down and they're going to be less productive. And doesn't mean they're not a great player. One of them, I'm thinking of a guy, Dougie Hamilton, who has kind of been known as the backbone of that team for the last 4 or 5 seasons after he was traded from Carolina, I believe. And just like how it happens with the Devils and Luke Hughes, we're seeing it with a lot of teams. We're seeing it with the Leafs. We're seeing Matthew Nyes now being the guy. We're seeing Easton Cowan finally making the team. We're seeing a lot of young guys just kind of taking control on, call it young teams. But the one thing I really love with this new era of hockey is that fans actually want to watch these weak teams play, even if they're not very good. As long as they have a young guy or two young guys that are exciting to watch, they'll watch that game. And I don't think it was like that before. I don't feel like we had the appreciation for prospects and, first overall picks and just call it like young studs, whether that's Celebrini, maybe you're thinking of, or a guy like Slavkovsky.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love the
that's
the
all.
ability that we can do, right, and debate about it, because I think everyone has so many mixed opinions on these young guys, whether it's Bedard or Celebrini, right?
Yeah. Well, I think too, I was listening to the Spin Chicklets, was it last week or a week and a half ago? And they said that the NHL is turning into a development league, which I didn't understand at first, but through further explaining, they pretty much said that there's some guys from age 28 to 35 that are at the top of their game right now, veterans in the league that still have a lot of hockey left in, but they're being pushed aside. And it's almost like the league is now being run by these young NHL players. Just like you said, it's a new era. And you're seeing a lot of guys, young guys, come into the league, get drafted high, play for a year, maybe a year and a half, and then get offered these 8x8 deals all day long. We saw it from who? Obviously, Jack Hughes, we just mentioned, similar deal. We saw it from, was it Frank Nazar that just signed
Oh
with
yeah,
the
oh
Chicago
my
Blackhawks?
goodness.
Luke Hughes just signed. Jake Sanderson, I believe he's 8x8 or 8x9 or 8x7, whatever it is. Cole Caulfield, another guy that got an 8x8 deal. It's kind of pain, but it reminds me of the only guy that didn't get offered the one deal. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe if he just had a different general manager at the time, Trevor Zegras probably would have got that 8x8 treatment.
Oh yeah,
There
I
was a
think
lot of
so.
pushback on that as well. But I do think that it is going to continue to grow where if NHL owners and GMs notice that they have a young talent, they can honestly say, look, I feel like we should lock this guy up, give him an early contract, give him a little bit of money. 8x8 seems like such a great number 5 years down the road, especially where the cap's headed. It kind of makes me think where Connor Bedard is going to sit in his contract negotiation. I mean, he's due in a year from now. I don't know if it's, no, I believe it's next summer. Where do you think the contract for Connor Bedard will end up? Because it's a lot of things could happen. It could be a bridge deal, it could be a long-term deal. I mean, I don't see them offering much more.
Mhm.
I would imagine they would want to lock him up as much as possible, but maybe he just wants to take a bridge. What do you think?
I think that after this season, he's gonna be willing to sign for at least 5 years in Chicago. And I just say that because I think, like you were saying about these guys being in their mid 20s or late 20s and still being extremely productive, or call it breaking out later than kind of before. I think if Bedard is, call it 21 after this season, maybe even 20 after this year, and he signs for another 5 years in Chicago, I feel like there's such low risk there. And then again, you have an opportunity to make a lot more money after those 5 years are up, and it almost gives you that window to do something with that rebuild. I don't want to say Chicago is going to have to be good in 5 years or be like elite, but in 5 years from now, you shouldn't be shaking your head missing the playoffs. So I think like five just seems like a good kind of term for me. But in terms of money, I don't know what I would have in mind, but I can tell you it's going to be more than 12 and a half. I don't know what you think.
No, I do think that he will sign with the Chicago Blackhawks. I do think that, like I mentioned, they will want to lock him up. I do think that they're going to want to have him locked up for 8 years. And on the opposite side, he might want to bridge, obviously, with the cap going up. I think that depending on how he plays this season and next, I mean, if he drops 60, 70, maybe 80 points he'll probably sit in that 4 year to 5 year by $10 million range. I know it sounds ridiculous, but if he comes out and drops 80 or 90 points, maybe even breaks 100, because that's what everyone's been waiting for, he's in a position where he can ask for an 8 year deal, $15 million, maybe even more, especially seeing that Capri. I mean, my numbers feel totally off considering Kirill Kaprizov and what he's done now with the Minnesota Wild. So
I don't even think that those numbers sound ridiculous. I think 10 is like the bare minimum that you'd see from Bedard. Like that just seems way too cheap when you hear that Frank Nazar gets 6.125 and hasn't done anything. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But again, I also can see the other side of things where we've had guys play really well for a few years and then they take 8 mil, and that was Jack Hughes. So if you're comparing Bedard to another first overall pick like Jack Hughes, you're going to inflate that 8 mil that Jack Hughes got a little bit, but you're not going to say, okay, let's give Bedsy 15 all of a sudden. So I can see somewhere in between 12.5 and 15 after this season, but like it's also a projection. I think he's going to have a really good season this year. I think you can kind of agree, like you said, you mentioned the 60 plus points. I think that's definitely a lock, and I think Bedard's going to put up 30 goals. I think this is time to do it. We saw Fantilli do it last year. Fantilli hit 30 goals in game 82. Obviously I was following that a lot, but yeah, with Bedard, like 30, he's got to hit 30 goals because I don't know who else is going to score goals on that team.
no, I totally agree. I mean, it all begins Tuesday, right? I know you want to get to that point in Tuesday's game one of the NHL season, and it's going to be a good start. I know there's not that many games, I believe, on Tuesday. Is it the 3? I saw the Rangers.
Yeah, we got 3 games start. First one at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, nice. So a little bit of a bender of games. I'd imagine what 5, 8, and 10 p.m. Just
Yeah, you're bang on. Yeah, 5, 8, and 10:30. So
to say that I'll be glued to the television for all 3 of those games is an absolute understatement. The only issue is I do have a class on or Wednesday, I believe, early, so we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna try to watch as much as that 10 p.m. game. But I know that you wanted to talk about a little bit of our predictions. So what do you have in store?
Yeah, so I think that I just want to say something to our viewers, and that's just the fact that if you are listening to anybody's rankings or predictions or call it drafts, maybe it's fantasy related, the most credible sources are the ones that do it as close to the season as possible. So although there's a lot of hockey fans that love to make like bold takes in August or, big predictions, big bets in August, let's say, there's just not enough credibility there. And we saw it with the Florida Panthers. Now we have Kachuk and Barkov out. Just a bit of kind of a background, just for anyone who maybe hasn't heard the big news, but there's always injuries in training camp. There's always big signings and things that are just going to affect the standings and affect the regular season. So with that being said, our predictions are going to be a few. They're going to be team related, but also player related. And what we're going to do is we're going to go one by one, and we're going to give our true take, and we'll also have a few bold takes, which are going to be in our breakout candidates. Now, the reason I say breakout candidates like this, Sans, is because I'm going to recap last year's breakout candidates just so we have an idea of how we did. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
So last year, starting in net, I had a different goalie than you did, and you took a massive dub there. I'm gonna give you a big props there. Your breakout candidate in net last year was Dustin Wolf.
No way. Oh, you went back and looked, eh? Dude, shout out to you, man. Remember? Wait. Oh, I guess he didn't win the Calder. I remember we were talking about that a lot last year because that was my kind of plus 1,500 originally at the start of the season. And I said it, and you were like, "Oh, no way, it's not gonna happen." So I don't mean that was my breakout candidate.
Yes,
Also,
yeah.
Go look back too.
Yeah, shout out you, because honestly, I still don't know how it happened, how he had such a good season, and I don't.
Crazy.
I'm gonna sound like a hater. I know it's Ray J, but that team I thought was a lot worse than their record looked. But he honestly deserved it after. If Hudson wasn't gonna get it, I think he deserved it over a guy like Celebrini even. But anyways, my goalie breakout candidate was Justus Anunin, and Didn't work out too well, but he did get the starts. It was a bit of a parody in Colorado there, eh, Sans? When I
Yeah.
know you picked him up in keeper, and it was a bit of a roller coaster, wasn't it?
Yeah, because then both goalies ended up getting traded. We weren't sure who was going to start, and then a Noonan started games, and then out of nowhere, they were both just out of town.
I know, I know. So you know what? Again, Sans takes a big dub there last season. We look at our breakout candidates. That's the definition of a receipt, and Sans can take that one. We
Yeah.
go to defense, and we both had the same breakout candidate from the Ottawa Senators, Jake Sanderson. Call it sharp. I don't know what else to say, Sans.
I'd say that's pretty sure. So we both agreed on that?
Yeah, that was we both had Sanderson, and we didn't share our list till the pod started. So we
So
both kind
say
of
that
just
again. Was that a just breakout defenseman?
yeah, just biggest breakout candidate on defense. Yeah.
Ooh, I would say that we were partially right. I mean, that is a great prediction from us, but there is a better answer for a breakout defenseman.
Oh, Werenski.
I'd say Zach Werenski is probably the biggest breakout defenseman. But second, I'd say Jake Sanderson. So obviously tough to predict perfectly, but I mean, Werenski would probably be, if I were to make a list of 10 guys last year, I'm sure Werenski would have been in that list. But
Yeah.
to guess Sanderson and what a great year he had. Hey, kudos to both of us.
Kudos to both of us. And to kind of just end off on offense here before we go to this season, I know we aren't just going to recap last year, but your forward, who I believe reached a career high in points last year, so I will give you kudos. Your forward was Sebastian Aho of the Carolina Hurricanes.
What was that for? For breakout forward?
Breakout forward last year.
Oh, okay.
So
Not bad. I do think I could have picked better. I definitely think there's a better option out there.
yeah, now I will say for a guy his age, he did well and he was healthy and I mean he played with a couple different line mates, right? He played a few games with Mikko Rantanen. So I mean, for him to have a good year, I think that was solid. There wasn't that many Canes that broke out, but I mean, Seth Jarvis comes to mind, maybe Jackson Blake. So he was around a lot of breakout players. Now, my breakout candidate, which I know you did like at the time, and I think you like it for this season too, was Dylan Guenther of the Utah Hockey Club, and now the Mammoth.
Yeah. No, I think again this year he's another great option. Like you could definitely pick Guenther this year to be a breakout candidate. Heck, you could even pick him to win the Rocket Richard because I think that the sky's the limit for this guy. Could he drop 30 goals this year? I'd say that's the absolute floor. That's got to be the expectation. I think 40 goals is where you want to reach. And who knows, maybe if he catches heat and that team really picks up like everyone's been talking about this offseason, heck, maybe even 50 goals. I mean, he is a sniper. It is a long shot, but I mean, for a long shot bet, I do think it is pretty fair.
Yeah, hey, he looked good in the preseason. I watched maybe a period of Utah hockey and he scored. So, um, that being said, I will get into our predictions and we're gonna just go one by one. We'll save the bold ones for the end, which are the breakout candidates. Let's start off with the full season. We're gonna just look at the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup winner. So it could be maybe the same team, but who, if you were to just kind of say it out loud, who's your cup pick before the season starts, and who could win the President's Trophy?
I mean, I'd want to say both. I know there is the President's Trophy curse. I would honestly say that to win the President's Trophy this year, most points in the NHL, I really want to go with the Edmonton Oilers. I think the Oilers are going to be really good this year. I think that they could make another push to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't think they're going to end up winning it again this year. I think McDavid's out of here at the end of the season, but I do think that the Edmonton Oilers are my pick for the President's Trophy.
Fair. And I think that will kind of lead you to your cup pick. Do you have a team in mind, or are you kind of on the fence now?
I want to hear yours. I want to hear yours.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give my true, and this is my true take. Nothing bold here. I'm not trying to be different. I'm not trying to again bring any rage bait, but my team to win the Stanley Cup and the President's Trophy is the New York Rangers.
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm not going to rationalize it too much. I think that this team is overlooked like crazy. I think outside of them not really having a great fourth line or third pair on D, they have so much talent. They finally have a captain, which is really big for the locker room. I used to glaze Gabe Landeskog when he captained that cup-winning team in Colorado. But the New York Rangers are just overlooked, and they can win the Metropolitan for sure over some fraudulent teams like the Caps. And I just think they can do it. I think Lafreniere is going to have a breakout year, call it 65 plus points. I think that defense looks great now that Gavrikov's on the team. I love Braden Schneider. I think Adam Fox is a Norris caliber defenseman. And yeah, I don't need to talk about Shesterkin. We know he's a top 3 goalie in the league. Let's not kid ourselves. So yeah, anything to say about that?
No, I mean, I do think that the Rangers are a good pick. I know I didn't pick my Stanley Cup prediction yet, but I'm going to take the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know it's a little bit in left field, and it's almost one of those teams that, yeah, sure, they are on the board, but realistically, they're probably not going to win. But I think that the Leafs are going to be a really good team this year. I kind of flip-flop because in the offseason, I was thinking that, they were going to regress a little bit. I just think they're going to be such a tough team to play against. They're going to be grittier, just a new look Toronto Maple Leafs team that I think we haven't seen in the past. And I think addition by subtraction, Mitch Marner leaving could actually be better for this team. So I'm looking forward to what the Leafs have to bring, and I think it's going to be a tough division, but ultimately the Leafs come out on top.
I like that. And like you said, I think you said something about addition through subtraction or whatever, but it happened with the Islanders. You saw how good that team was after Tavares' departure.
Yeah.
That team made the conference finals twice, I think. I know they beat our Bruins once or twice in the playoffs, and they didn't even have all the skill and talent in the world. They had they had Josh Bailey, they had Noah Dobson, I guess, for a bit, Matt Barzal, Kyle Palmieri, maybe, but like they didn't have all these studs like Mitch Marner and stuff. So we'll see what the Leafs can do. Maybe it's time for some new guys to shine. Maybe it's a Nick Robertson season. I'm really high on him. So I'll give you a little creds there for at least being honest with your Leafs for the cup pick. So Anthony Santini did say that the Leafs will win the cup. I will remember that in a good way. And now let's go on to our player predictions. I'm going to give you 2 at a time.
Let's do it.
And let's go on to our Norris and our Vezina to start. So Norris is our defenseman pick, and Vezina is obviously the goalie. So who do you have there?
So for the Norris, I feel like there's only 2 real decisions last year. And I mean, I did place a bet on Jake Sanderson to win the Norris. And at the time, I thought it would be a really good bet. And it just kind of made sense considering the value. I think it was plus 1,000. I thought, this is pretty good value. But even after, and what reminded me with Zach Werenski, the crazy season that Zach Werenski had last year, just so much buzz, played so well, was so valuable to the Columbus Blue Jackets in their push to make the Stanley Cup playoffs and obviously just falling short. That wasn't even enough to top a mediocre season by Makar. I mean, obviously, numbers-wise, it was amazing, but did he really bat too much of an eye last year with Cale Makar and how well he played? It's almost like we've grown so accustomed to Cale Makar. So my pick is going to be Cale Makar again, and like I wanted to get to at the start, I think it's really just between Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes, and you can almost say, okay, which guy is probably going to have the better team, which I think the Colorado Avalanche are going to stomp whatever the Vancouver Canucks do this season. So my pick's going to stay Cale Makar. I think it's just a flip-flop for the next 5 years as to who wins between the 2 of those players.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's between those 2. There's always just that bit of not anger, I want to say, but when a guy like Werenski does that and it's like, okay, he's not gonna win the Norris, it's so like disappointed to have to say, okay, he's not even close. But he, as close as he was far away from being Makar level, who scored 28 goals. I will say, I think that 28 goals topped a lot of guys who didn't play the full 82. So yeah, Makar, I like that pick. And what about your Vezina pick here?
So the Vezina, I was considering another goalie. I wanted to pick Ottinger. I was thinking about it, but I think I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to stick with my guy. I'm going to go with Connor Hellebuck. I think he's going to win the Vezina again this year. Obviously, that was a Hart Trophy winner last year. Absolute stud of a season for my team. So I'm picking Hellebuck again.
All right. There you go. I'm going to counter that. I'm going to go Igor Shesterkin. I think you can see why with my Rangers pick and how good I think they can be. And my Norris pick, I'm going to tail right off you and go Cale Makar again. I think you just have to. So the 2 big player awards, we're going to move to our Art Ross, which is the lead leaguer in points, and our Hart Trophy, which is call it MVP of the NHL.
Yeah. So starting with the Art Ross most points in the NHL, I gotta go with Nathan McKinnon. I feel like he's gonna mesh so well with Marty Necas this season, and they're gonna have a really good power play. Obviously with Makar, Landeskog back, Nichushkin. Hopefully, man, hopefully this guy can full 82 games. Like he's so valuable when he is on their team.
Yeah.
Other players like Ross Colton, also Victor Olofsson, that's going to be joining the
Hey,
Colorado Avalanche. I'm
Golofson. Yeah,
very
Golofson, baby.
very high on them this year. And I feel like Nathan McKinnon's going to lead the pack and ultimately lead the league in the NHL. I know you didn't ask for it, but my prediction is 144 points this season. So that's my guess. That's my guess.
Bang.
And
Wow.
for the Hart Trophy, I'm going to go with Leon Draisaitl. I do think that it's tough for him to win the Hart Trophy when he's playing on the same team as a guy like Connor McDavid, but I feel like he's going to have a phenomenal season. That guy is always in the hunt for the Rocket Richard. I think he's been top 5 in the last 7 years, I believe, is the stat. Something ridiculous. But I'm shooting for Leon Draisaitl to be the most valuable player in the NHL this year.
All right. Well, I will tell you, I like both picks, especially because Dry was a finalist last year. I'm gonna keep it basic, and I mean, you can call me boring, but I think this is McDavid's year to win both. So, um,
So
give me the Hart and give me the Art Ross. It's a contract year, which means like he's healthy. He's got to play the full 82, like you said with a lot of these guys. Um, he's got to just stay healthy, and he will win it if he plays all 82 games. That's my kind of verdict, but we'll see, right? I'm glad we both have different picks for a lot of these awards. Let's get into a bit of a boring one, but the Selkie. Who can win it with Barkov out this year?
Ooh, I'm gonna stick with my guy Nico Hischier, who's my prediction last year. I think he's gonna have another great year. I mean, he played really good last year, but I'm gonna go with Nico Hischier this year.
I like it, and I kind of want to say that I think Jack Hughes getting hurt almost sold Hischier a bit because Hischier had to just play a bigger, way bigger role once Jack Hughes was out, right? But
Yeah.
you see a lot of these guys who are just in top sixes playing really well defensively. I I'm gonna say Anze Kopitar wins it because he's gonna retire and it's gonna be a bit of like a feel good story. If that Kings team's really as good as they talk like and think they are, then there's no reason why Kopitar can't win that trophy and be great defensively like he always is. I just don't really see anyone standing out to me, but I'll go Kopi there, and it's gonna lead us to probably one of the funnest awards, or I won't say funnest, but the Calder Trophy, which every year I feel like we talk about all these rookies and a few of them aren't very good, but we all think they're going to be great. So what are your thoughts here on the Calder?
I think there's so many names that you could put for the Calder. I think that Demidov obviously is the easiest pick, but I'm gonna go a little bit off the board. I feel like this guy's gonna get recognized a little more as the season starts. But Zane Parekh, I don't know if he'll win it.
Ooh,
It's going to be really tough to top Demidov. I don't want to pick Demidov to win the Calder. Not anything against him, but I want to think a little outside of the box here. So I got Zane Parekh winning the Calder trophy. That's my pick. And then side pick, Jesper Wallstedt.
oh,
Hear me out. Could have a big year, could be very valuable, but it's still tough for a goalie to top whatever a player is going to bring. Kind of like with Werenski, Cale Makar. We noticed last year how Dustin Wolf still had a great year, but couldn't surpass Macklin Celebrini. So my pick is Zane Parekh.
all right. Well, I like that, and I mean, I'm glad you are high on your Flames every year, whether it's Wolf or Parekh. I'm gonna piggyback off your Minnesota Wild take there. I'm going to tell you, Zeke Boyum's going to win the Calder, and
Ooh,
the Minnesota Wild will have a top 10 power play if he is their quarterback. But if it's Brock Faber, I think that team might be worse than Chicago, worse than San Jose, because I don't like that Brock Faber kid. So, um, totally kidding about where they're going to finish, but I just think Boyum's got to play that power play from day one. Don't give him the power play 25 games in. That's not going to do any justice. Just let him have it because we saw how good his skating is. He's not Lane Hudson, but he's pretty damn good, right? So that's my pick again, a bit different than yours, but he's I think the second favorite right now, followed by Demidov, and I know Ike Howard's up there too, which everyone loves to talk about the Oilers and kind of their future. But now it's the fun time. It's time for our three breakouts before finishing off this pod. So I will say these do have to be kind of bold, but in a fun way. So you're gonna just go goalie goalie, defense, forward. You can repeat your picks if they involve the Calder Trophy, but let's go off with goalie here. Biggest breakout for you?
So my biggest breakout's going to be Jake Onger. I think that he's going to have a big season. I feel like he is going to finally cement himself as a top goalie in the league, maybe make a run for the Vezina, but we've been waiting for it for a couple years. I feel like Jake Onger's really ought to break out this season.
I like that. I think a lot of people too will just ignore the young guys who are under 27, under 26, no cups to their name. Well, guess what? A breakout would clearly mean that he's going to do some damage in the regular season. Maybe give Dallas a President's Trophy, but don't mind that at all. I'm going to be a bit, I don't want to say different here, but I'm going to take a guy, which it's not going to make sense, but I think that Joel Hofer is going to actually take the starting role over for St. Louis and be their starting goalie. I think Joel Hofer is my biggest breakout candidate in the NHL. I don't know what you have to say about that.
Let's just move on. I will not discredit any picks.
All right. Well, I can just tell you he's a very good goalie, and I'm not going to wish injury upon anyone. But okay, let's go on to our defense. So, who's your defenseman that's going to break out?
I think that Lane Hudson's going to be the biggest breakout this year. Obviously, he had a great year last year, but I feel like he could become one of those players that is what are you looking at? That is in the discussion with Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes. He should have a really big year this year, play more power play than Noah Dobson. I feel like Lane Hudson could become one of the top defensemen in the NHL this year.
All right. Well, I'll just repeat what you said. Let's just move on from that pick. But I'm going to just go with Charlie McAvoy of the Boston Bruins for mine. I think this guy is legit. I mean, I don't know why you would laugh as a Bruins fan. I think this guy's being severely overlooked in every way possible. McAvoy could be a guy who scores 15 goals and gets 50 assists, scores you 65 points. He's a top 5 defender in the world, and I think people don't realize like how good this guy is. He's finally healthy, and he's gonna be itching to play hockey. He's a big body. He's the guy. He's the guy on Boston, and if that team makes the playoffs, it's not just going to be because of one guy and David Pastrnak. It's going to be because of McAvoy too. So that guy's going to break out at call it age 25. So that's my guy.
All right.
We'll move on to our forward breakout candidate from you.
My forward breakout of the year is going to be Dylan Guenther. Got to pick him again. Always talked about him. I feel like he should have another big year. Obviously, maybe I was capping. 50 goals a lot. Probably won't win the Rocket Richard. Probably won't drop 40 goals. But I do think that he's going to be very valuable to that power play. That's another guy in that conversation, actually. Totally slipped my mind that he signed an 8x8 contract with Utah at the beginning of this year, if I remember, at the start of the season last year, whatever it was. But I feel like he's going to have a big year, probably going to be my breakout candidate of 25-26.
I like that. And I mean, you just made me think of a goalie that I forgot about. So I will change my Hofer pick, but I won't.
No, you got to keep it.
All right. Well, I won't mention this guy because I'll keep the Hofer pick. I said what I said, but all I'll have to say is Utah when you said Dylan Guenther. Anyways, my forward pick is a player from the Seattle Kraken. Can you guess who?
Shane Wright.
Yes, I think it's his time to shine. I think that team's boring enough. They are so boring. Like, it's incredible. I just feel like, why not him, man? Like, he's got to be training hard in the offseason. He hasn't scored 20 goals before in a year, right? Like, I think he's just my guy to break out. He might hit 30 goals, maybe a 50 plus point guy, but there's a reason he could be number 1 center in Seattle. I don't know. There's just a bit of a opinion for me for a guy who's going to break out. Just people forget how good he is. He exceptional status for a reason. So those are my guys, Wright, Hofer, and McAvoy. And your 3 guys?
My 3 guys were Dylan Guenther, Lane Hudson, Jake Onger.
All right. Interesting. Wow. Well, I guess for you, Lane Hudson's going to have like 100 points to break out. So that's going to be pretty crazy if he does. But I don't mind it. So, yeah. Anything else from you?
That's going to be it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up our predictions and a bit of a kind of summer recap from us. We're going to be kind of doing weekly pods with kind of real topics, a bit of fantasy. I don't know if there's anything else on your mind for the season in terms of what our topics will be, but I mean, a week from now, we're going to be recapping that first night of hockey, Bedsy versus Lindell, who I know you drafted him. You're going to be watching him pretty closely next week. I'm
Oh
going
boy.
to give a bit of a hack for our viewers before we end off here. And I know you're going to listen to this, Sans, because it's pretty important, but there's only one team in the NHL that plays 4 games next week. That is the New York Rangers. So what does that mean? It means that if you play fantasy hockey and you want to maximize your starts, you add players from the Rangers. So maybe that's adding a guy like Lafreniere, adding a guy like Gavrikov, adding anyone who's just going to put up some categories, maybe just win you your week. So just a bit of advice, just because I know we're big fantasy guys. I know you haven't won in a while, but I still wanted to mention that for our viewers. But
Huge.
yeah, enjoyed the pod, and we're going to be approaching episode 50 soon. So this was episode
Bang.
48. Let's keep rolling before our big months coming up. We got the Sport Card Expo coming up. We got a few hockey kind of hockey things going on and sports things, and obviously big school year too. It's our final year, so let's do this, Sans.
Oh yeah, let's do it, dude.
Alrighty, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Cheers.